On July 25, 1961, Bishop Hilary Hacker announced that the Fourth Catholic Parish was to be organized in Minot. The church was named St. John the Apostle. The first pastor was Rev Donald J. Beckwar. Father Beckwar was given permission from the Minot Board of Education to use Bel Air School for church services until the newly established parish completed plans to build a church, rectory, and elementary school in Northwest Minot. The first worship service was held on Sunday, August 6, 1961, in the Bel Air School Gymnasium.
It was not tough at all. It was easy to do. And there was a lot of good cooperation. There was some people that joined our parish or became part of our parish that were quite influential in the community, so leaders from the other parishes. But they ended up being leaders there.
Went to church down at Bel Air, and it was kind of chaos. There was lots of metal chairs set up and lots of little kids there, and there wasn't any place to baptize the babies. We had to take Larry over to Little Flower to have him baptized.
On July 21, 1962, Bishop Hacker granted permission to build a school building which would serve as a temporary church while the church was under construction. The architectural firm of Brunner, Hoffel, and Bohr was commissioned to design the temporary church, and Matson Construction was the contractor. Much of the woodwork throughout the building was furnished by Minot Sash and Door. Many other parishioners left their marks on the building through their own businesses or volunteered their time. Ground was broken on June 9, 1963 by Father Beckwar. The first services were held in the new temporary church building at Midnight Mass, Christmas 1963. Due to the inability to secure the religious sisters as teachers, the school never became a reality, and the temporary church became St. John the Apostle Church.
It was exciting just because it was so new, and it was just neat to have a church over in our area and not have to go to Bel Air. So it was really neat.
People were new in the parish, and they were younger, and everybody was very, very sociable and nice. And when we would have our meetings, some of those ladies still meet from those groups, from the ladies' groups from the church. They still meet once in a while yet.
We did Father's Day breakfasts and Mother's Day breakfasts, and we were all pretty active. We were all young, and it just seemed like we were very active. Everybody said St. John's was the parish to belong to because we did a lot of things. We were active, but we were young. It was a young parish. Father Donald Beckwar was I guess he was the right person at the right time because everybody really loved him. He was, and open to having this new church. It was, I think he didn't have a hard time. We had good leaders at that time that worked with Father.
Oh, he was very, very social, pleasant man, and always had time to stand and visit with you.
In June 1970, because of health reasons, Father Beckwar was transferred to St. Joseph's Hospital as chaplain. On July 1, 1970, Rev Henry W Schneider was installed as St. John the Apostle's second pastor.
He was really a good priest. He was so fervent in his religion or his priesthood. He was, he was very stoic when it come to saying, "Hi, Father." Like if you come along and didn't say it right, he would let you know. But he was really nice too. He was a very, very good, faithful priest.
He was kind of quiet, I think.
Pretty even-tempered man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He never got excited about anything. He was, like I said, he was very devout.
Yeah.
He didn't want you talking in church.
Yeah.
So he did well while he was there. Everybody liked him.
He knew everyone. What was so remarkable about him, he would remember names. I mean, he would meet you once and he would know your name.
He insisted that the children go to Bishop Bryan.
If you entered the 7th grade, you were going to Bishop Bryan. So he had most of the kids from St. John's going to Bishop Bryan.
There was no other way. He just thought they should be going there and getting that education and being and the religion from there.
We lived out by the golf course, out by Wildwood.
And he rode his bike out to our place.
From St. John's out.
If you invited him for dinner, he'd ride his bike
Yeah.
out. Yeah, he was big on biking.
Well, and then he walked quite a bit too when he was in town and rode his bike and stuff. He didn't use his car much.
He saved gas money and he sent it to Bishop Bryan.
And he got a bus organized to pick up the kids around here to haul them to school in the morning and bring them back in the evening, which was very nice in those days.
I just know that it was built for a school, and it never got off the ground as the school. And I think I must have had gone to confraternity, and I had mentioned that if they ever opened this as a school, I could teach. Well, then a couple years later, they asked me to teach kindergarten, because I had taught 1st grade in Tioga. And that's how the kindergarten formed. Father Schneider had Mass at 9 o'clock, and my school started at 9 o'clock, so I had to try to keep them under, not make too much noise. And then when they had funerals, I had the lower part of what at that time was the kitchen. So if they had a big funeral, I think I had to cancel kindergarten or move over onto the east side because they needed the whole area for tables and so forth. I kept teaching until 1981. So I taught 13 years here. I had a good group of kids.
I remember Father Schneider, toward the end, he said, I know we need to do something, but I'm going to let the next priest do it.
Father Schneider served as pastor for 32 years until his retirement in July 2002. Bishop Paul Zipfel appointed Father David Zimmer in 2002 as St. John's third pastor. Father Zimmer led St. John the Apostle Church through a much-needed renovation in 2003 and an expansion in 2013, bearing a keen eye for design, a true gift from God.
Well, we had to replace carpet. And I think that's how it started. The red carpet had to go.
Father Zimmer knew us well enough that if he just mentioned it, we'd say, well, of course we can do that. So when it was time to remodel, to do this big renovation, Doris and I each made ourselves a smock. And we wore these. See, you can tell we painted. We also textured. And we cleaned everything.
Kathy Hyder and I were here all through. We were doing the cleaning. We put the foam and covering on the kneelers through the whole church. And if we weren't here, our husbands were here working alongside too.
And Father Dave always called us Lucy and Ethel. And one day, when we were cleaning the crucifix, they had taken it down, and Gordon and Leo had put it on tables in the dining room, and we were scrubbing it, and Father came in. And about that time, his phone rang, and it was his mom. And she must have asked him what he was doing. Oh, he said, I'm just watching the girls give Jesus a bath. That's the kind of personality he had.
When they did the whole new part, that was all done with, not so much with volunteer help, pretty much with carpenters.
We were excited about it because it was something that we kept saying all along, boy, we need to build on here because this is just too small. And it wasn't designed for the purpose it was serving, so it was time.
And we had to have CCD in the hallways, and they weren't very warm. Yeah, most of the kids had to wear their jackets, and so just that alone, it was fantastic that they could have CCD rooms now.
It was a blessing when we got the bigger space because it was, I mean, the kitchen was so small that you couldn't get much help in there because there wasn't room for help. But we made do.
We think about it, we stand in the kitchen and we say, we look at what we did in our little kitchen, and there was no room, and those of us that ever worked in any of those areas knew that we needed something bigger.
But I mean, they did it. I mean, yeah, they made it work.
And now just about anything will work with the new kitchen and the dining area.
Well, Father David Richter came on board, and it was, you know, you always wonder what a new priest is going to be like. And, well, we've gotten to know him personally, and he's just fun. You know, he's a good old German guy. He's like us, and he's been to our home, and he's really wonderful priest. Very, very sincere in what he does.
Father Richter commissioned 2 major projects as pastor at St. John the Apostle, one being the Adoration Chapel and the other being the Statue Project for the 60th anniversary.
Oh, the Adoration Chapel, I think since he enclosed it now with this window closed, more people are coming.
Well, and that's the same kind of thing with Father Dave. I mean, he could visualize what it would look like when it was done, you know, where it wasn't so easy for us to see it until it was done.
To put this little room into use, and it's just a really peaceful room. This is just a comfortable place, and I'm so glad he thought of that.
When I first came to Minot, wondering what the blue crosses were on the church, because we could see them from many, many places. And we were temporarily at Little Flower, so I didn't know that St. John's even existed actually at first. And so then there was an aha moment of realizing that the blue crosses, rehabbing of the crosses was one of my goals. And I think we've done 1,000 times better than that.
It identifies it as a church. It's a statement.
But I do have to say a thank you to those that were involved in the early days for the crosses, for they helped me to identify St. John's.
And the statues outside, the new statues are just phenomenal. And what the design of that is just really great.
The sign changes, enlargement of who we are in words is also a great addition to show that we are here.
The history of the church would not be complete without mentioning the deacons who have served at St. John's. As part of their vocation, the deacons assist the pastor in the Mass and preside at sacramental liturgies such as baptisms, weddings, and funerals.
Steve Mays was great. I mean, he was so dependable, and everybody enjoyed him.
Steve Mays was so good to come and bring Sam communion and always stop and visit with him. Steve was a big help here at that time.
Everybody likes Chuck. He's just such a good person.
And Chuck, he's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
He was the best.
I don't think there's a priest that I've heard that can give a sermon like Chuck. I've heard a lot of. He
was
just
good
a
at
special
his
guy.
job.
You know, over the years, we've had the 4 different priests, and every one of them brings their own personality, but every one of them is they're just remarkable in their own way, and they all bring something new.
Just a friendly parish to belong to. And I remember when we had that first supper and we was out in a barn, in the bus garage out there, and I had a trailer loaded with potatoes, and they were washing them off, and we got talking about the priest coming and this and that, and then somebody said to me, well, what are you going to do? Well, I says, I'm not going priest shopping. I'm not going to shop for go to another parish and leave St. John's, because I've been there too long.
You feel like it's part of our family, that the parish is, we're part of the parish and parish is part of us. I think we really feel like we're welcome there.
You know the people and you enjoy being there.
St. John's has always been home to me. It's almost been my second family because this is where I grew up and received the sacraments that brought me closer to Christ. It's also where my family has received their sacraments as well. And our family is closer to Christ because of St. John's.
Comfort that you get from being there.
Yeah.
It's like your second home.